Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to learn about cryptococcosis, and this discussion will be more of entrance oriented. So I won't be discussing in detail about the structure and the various diseases caused, etc. So, and it will be in the format of MCQs, and much of the discussion I'll be explaining. So I hope you listen to the lecture, because nothing much will be there in the PPT. So image based question. So obviously the right side one you will easily identify, that is your India ink stain, showing the various round shaped yeast cells of various sizes having a halo around it, signifying this is Cryptococcus. And this on the left side we have a image of a gram stain. So this you may not be familiar with, and here you can see again various round yeast cells of various sizes, and you can see this big capsule which has not got stain. So this image you will clinically see only in the clinical specimen, and not when you do the smear from your cultures. Even India ink will be positive only in the clinical specimen and not in your cultures. Why? Because these capsules are produced when the organism is growing in a nutrient limited condition, and the media which you are providing is rich in nutrition, so they will not have this capsule. So next, so all of them are pathogenic Cryptococcus except, so which of it? Cryptococcus D neoformans, Cryptococcus deuterogatti, Cryptococcus bacillisporus, and Cryptococcus albidus. So here the answer is Cryptococcus albidus. Why? So you would have not heard of these names before, because currently the nomenclature of Cryptococcus neoformans and gatti has changed. Before we had the various serotypes A, B, C, D, and we had Cryptococcus neoformans, Cryptococcus grubbi, etc. Now Cryptococcus neoformans has Cryptococcus neoformans and D neoformans, that is a newer name of your grubbi. And Cryptococcus gatti again has 5 separate species. They are Cryptococcus gatti, deuterogatti, bacillisporus, tetragatti, and Cryptococcus decagatti. And important thing to remember is the which cause rarely the human disease, that is your Cryptococcus albidus and Cryptococcus lawrenciae. So incidence of Cryptococcus is less among which group of these patients? PLHA with CD4 of less than 200, kidney transplant on tacrolimus, lung transplant recipient on alemtuzumab, and child with PLHA having CD4 of less than 200. So in basically the answer is child with PLHA of CD4 less than 200. So the children are at very low risk, though even if they are PLHA, the children are at very low risk of Cryptococcus. That is why this population you will not even be giving the secondary prophylaxis. And one more important point to note here is, when will you start this? Is there any recommendation for primary prophylaxis in Cryptococcus? No. Irrespective of the patient history, you will not be prophylactically treating, but you will be giving preemptive therapy, which I will be discussing later. And Cryptococcus infection, when will you suspect in a patient? When the CD4 counts are becoming less than 200. And important thing to note here is the organ transplant recipient, especially the solid organ transplant recipients, are also at increased risk of cryptococcosis. And there have been studies which have shown tacrolimus. So tacrolimus is a what type of immunosuppressant? So tacrolimus, the group of immunosuppressants, they will have synergistic effect with the synergistic effect with the prophylaxis, and the patients will present with lesser incidence of cryptococcosis than compared to when the patients are treated on T cell inhibitors like alemtuzumab. So what is the most common symptom of cryptococcal meningitis? So headache, altered sensorium, fever, and weight loss. So here the most common is headache. The patient usually will present with prolonged low grade headache in a patient with PLHA, this should alert you for looking for the Cryptococcus. Again, the patients may present acutely with fever, altered sensorium, and headache. And in pulmonary cryptococcosis, the present there will be non-specific symptoms, having fever, weight loss, malaise, etc. And where pulmonary cryptococcosis is more common in your organ transplants, especially after the lung transplant. Diagnosis of cryptococcosis requires testing of serum, CSF, BAL, tissue sample. Again, here the catch is it can be any of the above. Why? Because I have not mentioned which type of cryptococcosis. So depending upon the type of cryptococcosis you are suspecting, you need to test. And irrespective of the type, serum cryptococcosis will be the first thing you will be testing. So if serum is positive, in case of a patient with PLHA, if the serum is positive, next what you are going to do is the testing of the CSF, because cryptococcal meningitis asymptomatic is very common in this group of patient. And in cases of organ transplant, apart from serum, BAL sample also you will be testing the cryptococcal antigen. And also there are various cases of cryptococcomas involving other non-meningeal sites as well. In that case, tissue sample can also be used. So what are the investigations you will be ordering in a patient with suspected cryptococcosis? So whenever you are suspecting cryptococcosis, first and foremost you should rule out HIV or immunosuppression condition by doing the CD4 count. And first then you will be doing the cryptococcal antigen testing, and MRI is better than CT scan for looking for your cryptococcomas. And in case of pulmonary cryptococcosis, you should be doing chest x-ray and blood culture. 45% of the cases will have bacteremia, so you can do the blood culture as well. So one more important thing is you need to do the CSF, lumbar puncture. CSF opening pressure should be noted, because I will telling the reason later. So for the CSF you will be sending for biochemistry and your grams, and depending upon the site of infection, the sample like CSF, BAL, urine or tissue can also be sent for your fungal culture. So which of the HPE stain is specific for Cryptococcus? HND, Gomari methanamine silver, PAS, mucicarmine staining. So basically mucicarmine staining is the specific one. So HND will not differentiate between your yeast and candida, yeast like candida and cryptococcus, but Gomari methamine silver and PAS, usually cryptococcus is positive for both of these, because the capsule will take up the state, but again you will not be able to differentiate the various yeast. So you will be doing the specific staining, that is a mucicarmine staining, which will differentiate your cryptococcus from your blastomycosis as well. So what is the test of choice for cryptococcosis? Latest agglutination test, lateral flow assay, India Inc. and enzyme immunoassay. It's a lateral flow assay for cryptococcal antigen. This is a specific, this is a test which you will have to do. Why? Again, because lateral flow assay, apart from being a very simple test which can be done bedside and requiring no pre-treatment of the sample, it has very high sensitivity for cryptococcal antigen against all the serotypes and against all the samples as well. So here you can see, the irrespective of the sample type, the sensitivity and specificity for PPV, positive predictive value, is very high, around 99 to 100% in most of the cases. So while comparing to the latest agglutination, the sensitivity and specificity, sensitivity though high, around 97 to 97.8%, the specificity is relatively lower depending upon the type of sample. And enzyme immunoassay, it is a little longer procedure and it requires well as the good lab to do it, so that is not preferred. So lateral flow assay is the answer. So this is the various steps. So now based on the cryptococcal antigen, how will you do the necessary treatment? So whenever a patient is diagnosed to have HIV, you have to do the before starting the patient on ART, you will have to rule out this cryptococcus and other opportunistic infection. Along with the HIV testing, you will have to perform the CD4 count, And if the CD4 is less than 100 and not, if the patient is not on ART, you do the cryptococcal antigen test. If it is positive, and look for the signs and symptoms of CNS infection by doing, if there is any positive symptoms, you do the diagnostic lumbar puncture. If the lumbar puncture is negative, then you will be treating with fluconazole 1200 mg for 4 weeks, followed by 400 mg for 8 weeks. If the lumbar puncture is positive, you should be treating the cryptococcal meningitis. And when will you start the ART? Again, we will discuss later. And if the cryptococcal antigen is negative, you should be initiating the ART. And now, if the patient is serum cryptococcal antigen positive but is asymptomatic, you look for the titer. If the titer is more than 1:160, you will be start the preemptive therapy. If the titer is less than 1:60, again you will start the preemptive therapy, but you can give a lower dose of fluconazole of 800 mg for 2 weeks, followed by 400 mg for 8 weeks, and then you will initiate the ART later. So what are the CSF findings in this cryptococcal meningitis? Basic thing is there will be lack of inflammation. Very few cells will be seen, and a patient usually have low glucose. Protein can be normal or slightly raised. And cryptococcus treatment, it will be in the induction, consolidation and maintenance phase. In the induction phase, you will have to is done to decrease the cryptococcal burden and to increase the patient survival. Usually the drugs used are amphotericin B, fluconazole, 5-flucytosine. 5-flucytosine is fungicidal, whereas fluconazole, apart from being. So let's discuss the treatment options for cryptococcal meningitis. So basically this has been taken from the CDC guidelines along with HIV-MR guidelines. So treatment of cryptococcal meningitis is in 3 phases: induction, consolidation and the maintenance therapy. Induction, the duration of therapy is 2 weeks. So the what is the preferred agent? That is liposomal amphotericin B, that at the dose of 3 to 4 mg per kg per day, with flucytosine 25 mg per kg 4 times a day, that is 100 mg per kg. Or you can give amphotericin B deoxycholate with flucytosine, and that is your induction therapy. Alternatively, if those are not available, you can still use amphotericin B with fluconazole plus flucytosine, etc. Consolidation therapy, the duration of therapy is 8 weeks. So the preferred in this phase, you will be giving fluconazole 800 mg per oral once a day. And after the induction phase, you should send for the CSF culture. So if the CSF culture is negative, you can reduce the dose to 400 mg per oral daily. And if the CSF remains positive after 2 weeks of induction therapy, you should increase the fluconazole therapy to 1200 mg. And again afterwards you will have to perform LP again. Based on the report, you can even extend beyond 8 weeks till the culture is negative, and no other means of follow-up is required. You shouldn't use cryptococcal antigen or India to test the response. You should be doing the CSF culture. So next is the maintenance therapy. Fluconazole 200 mg per oral daily for around 1 year is required. And when will you stop this maintenance therapy? At least if all these criteria are fulfilled, at least 1 year of the initiation of the antifungal with patient remaining asymptomatic and the CD4 more than 100 cells, and the patient is on a effective ART. So these are the conditions. When if all 3 are satisfied, you will be stopping the maintenance therapy. And when will you restart the therapy? If the CD4 declines to less than 100 cells, then you will have to restart this maintenance therapy. So let's revise again. So basically it contains induction therapy, consolidation therapy and maintenance therapy. Induction therapy involves liposomal amphotericin with flucytosine. Consolidation phase is fluconazole 800 mg, followed by maintenance fluconazole 200 mg. In the induction phase for 2 weeks, followed by 8 weeks of consolidation, and maintenance therapy up to 1 year. restarting whenever CD4 counts in decline to less than 100. Again, one more point to be noted here is WHO recommends less than 100 again, but again in resource limited countries like India, they have suggested less than 200 as well. So now this was for the CNS, that is a cryptococcal meningitis. In case of non-CNS extrapulmonary or in patients having pulmonary disease and having asymptomatic patients with isolated cryptococcal antigenemia, the same treatment as CNS disease is advocated if the titer of lateral flow assay is more than 1:640. And in case of patients with non-CNS focal pulmonary disease or asymptomatic with cryptococcal antigenemia less than 1:320, fluconazole 400 to 800 mg per oral for 10 weeks followed by fluconazole 200 mg for a total of 6 months is advocated. So what are the other consideration you should be given? So basically the best therapy is amphotericin B with flucytosine, which is associated with rapid CSF sterilization and reduced relapse. And you have to make sure that flucytosine you do therapeutic drug monitoring if it is available. If it is not available, you should monitor the patient's CBC, and always CSF opening pressure in case of meningitis is required, because if the pressures are more than 25 mm Hg, you will have to do therapeutic tap to reduce the raised ICT, as steroids are not indicated in these patients. And if the induction phase, this was the previous recommendation. Now this is the CDC recommendation, whereas in WHO they suggest 1 week of this induction therapy, that is amphotericin B with flucytosine. And corticosteroid should not be routinely used in induction if other than iris. And you should not you cannot to reduce the ICT, the patient will be having headache and all. Corticosteroids and mannitol are ineffective, that's why it is recommended that you do therapeutic tapping. And we should make sure remember the interactions of the most of your triazoles will interact with the certain antiviral, especially your protease inhibitors, that should be looked forward. So what are the important points to be considered during the treatment? So first you should screen for the opportunistic infection, especially for Cryptococcus, and you should reinitiate. So basically this is a WHO recommendation where they recommend when the CD4 falls less than 200, no primary prophylaxis, no secondary prophylaxis in children. And if this I have already discussed, amphotericin B is associated with lot of toxicity, hence you have to give pre-hydration, that is before you give the amphotericin dose you have to hydrate the patient by giving NS, and then you will give amphotericin B, and you will have to monitor the electrolytes. So amphotericin B, the patient can go to hypokalemia, hypopygmicemia, so you should monitor those, or you can give the supplements. And it is important to measure the CSF opening pressure. If it is more than 25 mg, therapeutic tapping is essential. And how do you monitor? As I already discussed, the culture negative, patient should have culture negative, then only the response you will be assessing based on the culture and not based on the antigen. And routine use of adjunctive corticosteroid is not recommended. So what is the preferred in the induction phase of cryptococcosis according to WHO? So amphotericin B with flucytosine for 2 weeks, or amphotericin B with flucytosine for 1 week, fluconazole with flucytosine for 2 weeks, or amphotericin B with fluconazole for 2 weeks. So it is for ampho with flucytosine for 1 week. So updated WHO 2018 guidelines says that the preferred induction regimen is 1 week of amphotericin flucytosine followed by 1 week of fluconazole. This will reduce the medication toxicity and also will reduce the incidence of nosocomial sepsis. Now coming to treatment of cryptococcosis in special situations. So treatment for non-localized, non-meningeal localized disease like any other part of the body. So where and all can Cryptococcus cause infection? So after CNS, pulmonary, it can cause cutaneous, it can cause mass in the liver, it can cause mass in the prostate, etc. So there, wherever surgery is feasible, you can do the surgical excision of the mass, and concurrently patient can be started on fluconazole therapy, that is 800 mg first for 2 weeks, followed by 400 mg per day for 8 weeks, and then 200 mg maintenance therapy for around 1 year. Then cryptococci involving the brain. So in that case, amphotericin and oral flucytosine for at least 6 weeks. So we have seen induction phase is usually 2 weeks. But in case of cryptococci, you have to extend the induction phase for up to 6 weeks, followed by consolidation and maintenance phase, similar doses as I have discussed before. So in pregnant women, amphotericin B can be given, but flucytosine and fluconazole are notorious to cause birth defects. Hence, you will have to avoid it at least in the first trimester, and the treatment you should individualize. So what is the timing of ART in suspected cryptococcosis? So whether to start ART immediately or start it after the completion of the antifungal, and start after induction phase, and start ART 4 to 6 weeks after the antifungal. So it is ART should be started after 4 to 6 weeks of antifungal therapy. This is the WHO recommendation, where they suggest that immediate ART initiation is not recommended because it is associated with increased mortality, and the treatment should be deferred by at least 4 to 6 weeks from the initiation of the antifungal. And this is for patients who are having symptomatic cryptococcal meningitis. So if the patient is not having symptomatic and it is just serum cryptococcal antigen positive, in that case you can start the therapy after 2 weeks. So that's it. So if you have any doubt, please leave it in the comment section. I will be happy to address it. If you are liking this content, don't forget to like, share and subscribe.